Good morning, guys. What is gravy in the Navy? Today, I am greeted with Nick from Denver. I used to say from Philly, but it's Philly, right? Not Pennsylvania.
Well, Philly is in Pennsylvania.
I don't know anything about geography. But anyways, Nick is finally here. And today, he's actually not helping us with the wagon. He's actually just came here to check out California. And California is the best state you can live in. Personal and biased opinion. But how you liking Cali so far?
It's not cold.
I mean, he said you had to wear, so you only have a jacket because it's the morning right now, but the sun's coming out. He's gonna be able to take off his jacket a little bit later. But you were in Philly, and what were you wearing over there?
Canada Goose.
So anyways, he's here right now in Cali. Hey, what's up, bro? We just had a customer pull up just now, so we had to greet him. He got some subwoofers for his individual audio E92 M3. But anyways, guys, now that we're back, so yeah, the topic of today's video is actually working on the 135 IS. I was actually gonna have Nick come out and actually help us work on the what's it called? Anyways, we're working on the 135 IS. I hope the audio is not too bad, guys. I know the wind's kind of blowing right now, but the 130. I'm not even gonna talk right now. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the car. And I'm gonna talk over this because I'm scared the wind's gonna ruin this audio clip. So let me just go ahead and show you guys the car. So guys, I'm actually gonna be going a different direction with this channel. I figured a lot of the things I do here has been kind of business related. So I'm gonna go ahead and just fill you guys in with my life and I guess just fill you guys in 100%. It's no longer just gonna be building cars just for the pure enjoyment of it. Unfortunately, because of how life goes, sometimes it has to also be for the profits. And there's nothing wrong with that because I'm still enjoying the process. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and fill you guys in with the full cost breakdown of this 135 IS, how much we got it for, how much we're gonna be into it, and how much we're looking to get for it, and seeing whether or not this 135 IS is actually worth flipping. Recently, with new California laws, they've been implementing this new system called a safety inspection instead of break and light, which means they are checking absolutely everything on a salvage car from top to bottom, which is actually a great thing. I've seen a lot of sketchy salvage cars on the market, and a lot of people are kind of sketched to buy salvage cars because of some of the people that actually repair them, they don't repair them properly or up to like BMW level or BMW code or however way you would call that exactly. So having a safety inspection put in place is actually gonna make a lot of more people confident in buying salvage title cars because they've been thoroughly inspected and they are certified to be back on the road. They no longer just check brakes and lights, they now check frame components. They make sure everything is straight. They make sure that there is no rust going on in the car. They make sure there's no lights on the dash. They make sure the horn works. They make sure that literally every single thing on the car that can cause an accident is no longer an issue on the car before actually giving it a rebuilt issue title. Technically it's salvage. When you rebuild a car, they give you a salvage title, but it's technically rebuilt. But obviously all those shops that used to do brake and light and now have to do a safety inspection, which takes them probably twice as long, maybe 3 times as long to actually check one car now, they're actually charging a major fee for that. Instead of $120, it's now $300 without smog to get that car certified. In other words, buying a cheap salvage car from auction now really doesn't make sense because you're going to be in it a little too much because you have to make it perfect to be on the road. More perfect than a lot of clean titles that are out there. You guys know me, I absolutely love rebuilding BMWs. I've been doing that for the past 7 years, and some cars I just cannot take apart. This 135 IS does have some pretty bad quarter panel damage, but I don't know if you guys saw with the interior, with the custom stitching on the seats. It's a 135S, a very limited production car. I think nationwide right now, there's only one coupe for sale that I could find. So it's kind of crazy to see this car that I actually have it in Le Mans blue, even more rare. And this one, even more rare, is a manual. Typically 135S's come in DCT. This one comes with a manual, which is way more rare. And this one is actually a very clean example. Even though it has 140,000 miles, the interior looks like it literally has 15,000 miles on it. It's actually insane. There's not even any dash peel, which is crazy to say because every 135 IS I've ever owned has dash peel. This car clearly looks like it was garage kept, but it was definitely daily driven at the same time. So right now, me and Nick are actually gonna be fixing some of the things on this car. The first thing we're gonna go ahead and start with is the battery. The battery on this car is completely flat. We're gonna be putting a brand new, well, new to us, 2023 BMW battery in this car that's already pre-tested as great, which means that that battery is probably gonna last another 2 to 3 years, thankfully. Thankfully, because I work here at 90 Auto Parts, we basically either sell those batteries for 50 bucks or recycle them for 10 bucks. So I'm gonna say my cost is gonna be $10 for that battery. I guess before getting into all the prices and actually getting into the repairs, let's go ahead and just talk about how much we got the car for. So it looks like this car after fees was $4,900. I also believe that the delivery on this car was actually about $400, thus making the car delivered to the shop at $5,300. Now, how much is this car worth with 140,000 miles? Now, some clean title examples that I'm finding, and none of them are actually coupes, they're all convertibles and they're all DCT, are actually going somewhere on the $19,000 range with lower mileage. This is definitely a higher mileage example, but those are clean title convertibles, definitely less sought out for than a manual coupe in Le Mans blue. So I think I found one, which if I can, I'll link it right over. I'll show a picture right over here. I believe that one's also $19,000, but unfortunately I believe it's a DCT, and it looks like the body's been slightly modified. Cars like this, you want to make sure there's OEM plus as possible because it's definitely a collector's car. You definitely want to make sure a car like this goes back into another person with the right hands to take care of it because it's just so well kept. So right now we're going to go ahead and start some of the repairs, starting off with the rear suspension and the interior airbags. I want to go ahead and sort out that headliner so it doesn't keep creasing, and also getting rid of that huge issue so we can get in and out of the car really easily. A brand new curtain airbag at our expense is about $100. So that, you know, that's $100 right there. The battery, $10, which is no big deal. Brand new BMW battery, that is a smoking good deal. And another cost to us as well is gonna be, I guess, the rear control arms. Right now, we don't actually know what is damaged back there, but it runs and drives just fine with no clunking sounds. No clunking basically means it's most likely no axle damage and no hub damage and no, brake damage. So it's possibly just a few control arms that can get this thing back on the road driving perfectly straight. So before getting into the other expenses on this car, let's just go ahead and get this thing repaired and actually figure out what else is actually damaged on this car. Clearly it needs a quarter panel, clearly it needs a door, but what else is actually gonna tag on to the price of repairs? So guys, we got the wheel off the car, and thankfully it is just cosmetic. The rim is not bent. These wheels are about $500 to $600 and I can't even find one. So if I take it to a proper shop, they should be able to refinish this face and make it, honestly, probably just as good as new. So we're going to give that a shot. If not, then we'll go ahead and spend the $500 to $600 maybe at the dealership. But right now a $200 option does sound good, especially considering the wheel doesn't look bent. Now coming here into the suspension, the main issue with this car preventing it from running and driving properly, you guys can clearly see that this control arm is completely snapped out of place. So we have this control arm right here that looks damaged, and this one right over here as well. This is clearly bent. You guys can probably tell right over here, it is bent out of whack. Now, thankfully, those are probably the only two. The one over here is straight as an arrow. The one on the bottom is straight. The shock is not damaged, thankfully. Oh, no, the shock is damaged. I just said it wasn't damaged, but actually it's bent. Unfortunately, you guys can kind of see a little buckle right there. So unfortunately, we're probably gonna have to replace this shock. Thankfully, we do have another 135 inside. So it looks like we need a new shock. This control arm, let's see, this bottom one's bent. The bottom one is straight as an arrow. Okay, all right, axle is good. So yeah, long story short, we got one strut, two control arms, and then theoretically we should have good suspension. It looks like we're also gonna need a fender liner potentially because this is creased up pretty bad. Now we do have a 135 donor car right now, but it is a company vehicle that's getting parted out. So I technically have to purchase these parts because it's for a personal vehicle rebuild. But of course, because it's your boy's company, he's obviously gonna hook himself up, and whatever it's going for on eBay, I'm probably gonna give myself the homie and founder discount. That's pretty cool to say. On this car right over here, guys, we have a good quarter panel. It's got some damage, but that can easily get fixed. This thing's gonna have to get bondoed and welded onto the other car. So it is what it is when quarter panel repairs. So we have a good fender liner, thankfully. That control that we needed seems to be good. That one's good, and the shock looks good. So it does look like we have all the parts we need to get this thing back on the road. So let's just go ahead and first try to remove it off this car and then remove it off ours. And I say that because ours is still technically drivable. This one we're gonna have to disassemble it regardless. I wanna see if I'm able to remove those control arms without dropping the subframe, because if I have to drop the subframe, it's gonna be a super pain in the butt. So guys, we got the wheels and the suspension all dialed in. It looks straight. Now the unfortunate thing is, I have a feeling it's gonna rub against the quarter panel. So let's go ahead and drop it. If it doesn't, we'll run it. If it does, we might have to cut that quarter panel a little bit. Okay. I mean, if you can run that, we'll just run it. The wheel is poking out like crazy right now, but looks as straight as this side. So I think with all E90s, they come, actually no, it's perfectly straight, guys. That's absolutely phenomenal. I'm super happy with that. And honestly, guys, the fact that I actually have to touch the quarter panel, we can just drive it straight like that, grab this door, shut it, straight to the body shop. I'm really happy with that. Performance exhaust. All right, guys, the Porsche's out for registration. She's stressed out driving that thing. I don't want to put a camera in front of her because she'd be stressed, but they're taking the car off registration for me because I don't have time, but hopefully she doesn't, I'm pretty sure she knows what she's doing. She's also a BMW enthusiast, so. Porsche just got picked up for registration. Let's go ahead and get the 135 IS. I don't know why it is not clear right now, but let's go ahead and get that car because we need to get that thing off to the body shop. So guys, here at the second shop, we got the 135 IS chilling there like a villain. So we need to get some doors. I know we have, I think, yeah, we have one E88 door right there in black. And I believe we have another one chilling somewhere over here in white. In silver. I prefer to use a silver one to get repainted because those are less common to sell. Then again, not to move all these doors. We'll see what I'm going to do, but I'll go ahead and load up the door into the back of the 135 IS, and we're going to go ahead and get it on the trailer and take it down to the paint shop. Now, I actually have not shown them the damage on this car, so I don't really know how much it's going to cost me. I did get a brand new quarter panel because I want them to replace that and another door. The doors and everything work, surprisingly. Honestly, this car can run and drive, especially considering we fixed the suspension, But obviously we can't leave a 135 IS looking like this. We need a proper repair on it, and because this is literally the only damage. Once we have to get that stuff repaired, the gaps on this car, thankfully, was not hitting the rear or the front. It's gonna be absolutely perfect. I know to some people, a quarter panel job is a little scary. I know at least for me it was when I first got into cars, but I'm happy to say that this kind of damage now is actually the easiest and the cheapest damage, because quarter panels are kind of cheap, like $200-300 bucks, and then the doors are like $200. So that's like a $500 parts repair, and then obviously suspension control arms. I mean, some people could say those are like 10 bucks a pop if you find them at a pick and pull. And then obviously the airbags as well. Sometimes airbags deploy, sometimes they don't. If the airbags did not deploy, this would be literally parts cost under maybe $1,000. And then at this point, it's just labor, but it's off your hands. You're paying for labor, and then it's gonna get painted, done, looking pretty, no gaps, and it's gonna run and drive like a dream. Because the main thing for me, as I'm getting kind of older and older and older, I'm starting to get real picky on the front end of salvage title cars. I want the gaps to all be perfect. And as you guys can see, the hood gaps, the fender gaps, the bumper gaps, everything looks absolutely beautiful. Looks like a clean title because there's never been damage there. And same goes with the rear end. And the interior, guys, is absolutely mint. This is literally a car that needs to be saved. So I'm super happy we're saving this. Let's go ahead and get that door loaded up so we can head out of here. Just like that, our door is loaded up. And just like that, guys, we've just arrived at Antonio's shop. Actually, my boy Antonio that's worked on my first ever 330i is here, and my boy Jose that also worked on my first ever 330i are both here. They're gonna be fixing up the car and also giving it a proper polish and ceramic coat. So guys, good news, just got done with my boy Antonio, just got done with my boy Jose. They pretty much looked over the car and they said that the quarter panel, the way it was hit, we're both kind of looking at it, and the way it was hit, it was not affected on the top where it affects the trunk gaps. It was not affected on the bottom where it can affect the bumper gaps, and it was not affected where the quarter glass is either. Actually, not even where the side skirt is either. So the damage is like in the middle. So that being said, it might be able to get pulled out and saved, and maybe just a little bit of the metal is going to be probably swapped out for the most cost-effective route. So they are going to be still stripping down the quarter panel that I gave them, and they're going to be using a small piece of it. They're not going to replace the entire quarter because they remove the rear glass. We have to take off all the panels, and the job is pretty much going to be 3 times more expensive, and I mean like literally 2-3 grand just for the quarter panel job. That's going to cost a little too much. It will not be in the profit zones on that car. So it is definitely worth saving that car, but it is not worth saving it to the point to where, honestly, we're going to have to strip most of the car, and everything's not going to go back as it is from factory. So I prefer to keep the whole interior intact, the rear end intact, the front end intact, none of the gaps played with, and just literally doing that minor repair. And then right after that, we are going to be doing a polish on the car because I want it to look beautiful. So shout out to my boy Jose for taking care of that. So that being said, we did drop off the car. It's going to be another week, honestly, probably 2 weeks before I actually hear back from them. When we did the quarter panels with them on the E91 M3, it did take a while just because it is a bigger job. So the Porsche did get picked up and it's on its way for registration. Hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing happens to the car. First time letting anyone else really drive that car, and hopefully it comes back and everything's great with the Navy and we get our registration and all that good stuff, because I just need that car to be legal on the road. So yeah, you guys saw the goals earlier on in the video. I want to reach that hopefully by the end of this year. That's gonna be my goals. I want to hold it. I want to build the F81 M3 by the end of the year. I want to take 1 year on it. On top of the fact that I got a full-time work schedule here at Natty Auto Parts, it's taking up a lot of my time. But I still think I'm gonna build the F81 M3 hopefully in 2025. And at the same time, I want to get that McLaren. I've always wanted one, and I want to achieve it. You guys know that last year we did the Audi R8, or was it the year before that actually? Because I think all of last year I was focused on Natty Auto Parts. Actually, the year before that we achieved the Audi R8. We ended up selling it and a few other things to actually make Natty Auto Parts become a dream. But now we're back at the McLaren. I want to get a McLaren. I've always wanted one. Whether it's a 570S, a 600 LT, or a 720S, no matter what, I'm gonna be happy. McLaren's a McLaren. So let's go ahead and grind and do whatever it takes to get there. So we are gonna be going through a lot of builds in between, but I'm gonna keep it strictly BMW because BMW is honestly the only cars I actually enjoy building, and I really don't want to rebuild anything other than that. Again, I'll make a future video on the Porsche, but anyways, again, I love y'all so much. Make sure to smash that like button for me and expect some videos soon because your boy Nour is back here in 2025.
Yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving